Of course, I finally make it to the Rolex 24, and there is a 6.5-hour full course yellow.
That's it. That's my intro.
Hey, I'm Amanda. I'm professionally curious and I talk for a living. And you're watching Swell Entertainment, the channel where I tell you about whatever I'm obsessed with that week. I am in Daytona Beach, Florida for the Rolex 24 at Daytona International Speedway. Obviously, I have left, but I just left a couple of hours ago. I have not touched up my makeup. I have I think a sunburn rash forming. That's new. Also, audio might be weird, so I do apologize. I tried to come last year. I had tickets, everything was booked, and then LA was on fire. And my anxiety was super high, so I canceled all of my January travel last year. This year, obviously I have not done that. I've been on a plane almost every single weekend. I am slowly going insane. But the Rolex 24 is exactly that. It is a 24-hour, 140 to 140 race that goes all night. And there was like, God, 60 cars on track? Let's just say there was a lot of cars on track. So let's talk about this, okay? Because I did bump into quite a few viewers that were very excited that I was there, but they were also bummed that I had not come earlier, that I had not been out here for like a full week. You guys, I am one person. This whole trip is, Swell Entertainment funded. I have been traveling a lot this month. I don't know what to tell you. I also am one human being who can only stand so much time away from my precious goblin psycho dog. You guys got me for the weekend in the race itself. Apologies, okay? I think you'll live. You guys will be okay. I'm sure it'll be fine. But yeah, that's all I can review though, is the race itself, the track itself, all of this. I am obviously staying in a hotel-ish thing. I will say overall, if I were to do this again, I'm camping. I am either renting a camper. My dad has a camper van that he inherited. I'm driving that across the country, or I'm just getting a rental car and decking it out so I can sleep in it. I do think I would have had a much better time because I love a night race. I really do. But the problem here was that I had to drive 20 minutes in an Uber to get back to my hotel when I left the track. And then it was like, okay, well, what if I go and sleep? And then it just messed with the timing a lot. Normally when I come to Florida, I have a rental car. Not doing that, I do think was a mistake on my part. So there is that. That's my main note, is if I were to do this again, which I probably will one day, maybe not a yearly thing. Because like I said, Florida and I don't get along. That's no fault of Daytona Speedway itself or like IMSA, none of that. It's just historically, Florida and I have a love-hate relationship. It hates me and I love it when I leave. And that's just how it goes, and that's okay. IMSA is a sports car series. I have talked about an IMSA race when I did the Long Beach Grand Prix review last year, but that wasn't one of their like long 24-hour races, obviously. And a lot of people have been asking me to do an endurance race. Daytona 24 made the most sense. I was already traveling so much this month. I was like, what's one more trip? Technically, everything for this race weekend started Thursday. I did not get to town till Friday evening. I missed all of Thursday, but that is when they had the practice for the Michelin Pilot Challenge and the WeatherTech Championship. They had qualifying for Mazda MX-5, Michelin Pilot Challenge, and the WeatherTech Championship all on Thursday. Autograph sessions, and then some more practices. They had a race for Mazda MX-5. Friday, again, was not here. Qualifying for historic sports car racing. That was IMSA Classic. More practice, race for Mazda MX-5. BMW M Endurance Challenge at Daytona, Michelin Pilot Challenge, and the qualifying race for the historic sports car racing IMSA Classic. Then, Saturday. Hi. Getting to the track was not that difficult. Frankly, though, if you're going to take an Uber or anything like that, I learned today, just find some place surrounding the track. You're going to be walking anyway. You're not going to be able to get dropped off right at track. You might, but it's just easier if you just pick, like, I just kept picking 7-Eleven. There's a Hooters. Get dropped off at Hooters. Just do it. It's probably easier. I bought my Rolex tickets 2 days before Christmas, and it was the 24-hour 2-day admission with the garage. It was $130, and that's with the full race itself for Saturday and Sunday.
But really quick, let me take a second to tell you about the sponsor for today's video, Aura. So obviously this last month, for this video included, I've been traveling a lot for events. That means that a ton of new ticketing sites have my data. Hotels, airlines, you name it, they've got it. And when you're traveling, that's quite a bit of personal information that you kind of just have to hand over to even buy your ticket to things. Now, I'm not saying that any of these companies are purposely doing anything nefarious with my information, but sometimes they're just not as secure as they could be, and that's one of the ways that some of my information could end up in the hands of data brokers. Now, obviously, this is redacted, and this is not my personal information, but this is just some of the information that data brokers can get their hands on from you. And I'm self-employed, and I live alone. If anyone's going to be profiting off of my data, it better be me. But getting this information out of the hands of data brokers is just one of the many ways that our sponsor today, Aura, can help. Aura doesn't just do the work of identifying these data brokers selling information, they also take care of the hard part of getting this information removed from these data broker sites. Aura also has a ton of other incredible features at one affordable price. They have parental controls, identity protection, transaction monitoring, 24/7 US-based customer support, antivirus, VPN with safe browsing, and scam call protection. So you can try Aura for free for 14 days using aura.com/swell. Plenty of time for Aura to check to see if your information is in the hands of data brokers. And thank you to Aura for sponsoring this video.
So got to track, got in line. Track opened at 8:30. I got here just before 9. I got in at like 9:15 inside the gate. Really not that difficult. There was a lot of people, but they moved pretty quickly. It was just scan this, get a wristband. If you had a wristband, you could already walk through. They didn't really do security here. I had a big like bag that I was worried they were gonna be like, this is too big. No one ever really gave a crap about the size of the bag or anything like that. But once you actually get into like the fan zone areas or the grandstand areas and things like that, that's where you actually have to go through security check. There's quite a few different campsites here on site inside the track itself. It is really cool, like walking in and you can see like the banking. That's really fun. I like that. I think that's fun. So I actually ended up in the garage space before I ended up in any of the fan zone space. They checked your wristbands, you went through security, you know, to make sure you didn't have anything. And they had all the cars out and all the team trucks and things like that, which was cool. Everyone getting ready to go before the start of the race. I will say, oh my God, keep your head on a swivel. I saw far too many clips of people almost getting clipped by cars. As someone that has been pushed in a paddock space by team personnel so that I wouldn't get hit by a car because no one else would move, please be paying attention when you're in a paddock space. There's a lot of people here, okay? And it's fun and it's exciting and you can see everything, and they've got like car cards and things like that, and like drivers are out and teams are out and stuff, and it's fun vibes. Please keep your head on a swivel. Please be paying attention. It will hit you. Just because they're not on track doesn't mean it's not gonna hurt. So this whole thing was like the infield itself. The entire area inside is the infield, and you can pretty much walk to most things here. There was a few times where I was walking and I was like, am I allowed to be? They don't give a shit. It's fine. You're fine. You don't need to be stressed out at all. They'll tell you if you're not supposed to be in somewhere. So they had the garages and they had the fan zone area. And this was, I think they called it the Hard Rock fan zone or something like that. They have some food trucks. They had the big fan merch area. They had a stage. They did karaoke here at one point. Live performances. They had, you know, food. They had people selling ear protection. They had people selling tickets for next year. One thing that I did think was really cool also about the garages is the fan zone inside on the back side of the garages, so like between the two rows of the garages, there's actually windows that look into the back of the garages. So this was cool at the start of everything, like when the teams were still all inside their garages. Once the race starts, no one's really in there. They're out, you know, in the boxes and things like that on the pit lane. I enjoyed that. That was fun for me in particular. In the fan zone as well was also the fan viewing platform. This is just open and it goes on top of the garages that are closest to the track view of that main start-finish straight. It's not too tall. It's just on top of the garages. Now there is a tram system. It is free, at least for Rolex. I don't know how they do for other races, okay? The problem is that I'm impatient and I don't like waiting in line if I don't have to. Google told me there was a, you know, pedestrian bridge to get to where I wanted to go. And I was gonna find that. So I walked. I did about 20,000 steps in total on Saturday alone. That's fine. That's an average for me. You know, it's not a big deal. But I was hoofing it and it was warm, okay? I think they said this is the hottest Rolex 24 they've had in years, which a lot of them were surprised by. They were surprised by how hot it was yesterday. And then today it was even hotter. I think it got up to like 82 or something today while we were at the track. Hence, fun new chest sunburn despite me wearing sunscreen. Oh yeah, hey, did you know there's a lake inside the Speedway? They just have a lake. That feels like something I should have known about already. I didn't, but alas, there's just a lake here. Yeah, Lake Lloyd. You can camp on the shores of Lake Lloyd if you would like. If you go to the Ferris wheel, it's directly over the lake as well. Also, Ferris wheel's way smaller than I thought it would be. On the broadcast, it looks really tall. If you want a good view of like the whole track, I do think this is a good track to be at for like a good view of everything, because a lot of people complain about in Formula One a lot of tracks and things like that, and it's like, oh, US tracks suck because you can't see da. Obviously for street circuits this is a standard circuit because it's a speedway, obviously, but the grandstand is sick. You can go pretty high up and you would have a very good view of the entire track. If you go high enough, you'll have a better view than the Ferris wheel. So if you really want to see everything, just hoof it. There's elevators, I think. You got this. Go do that. So here's the map that is in the booklet. I don't know if I found this particularly helpful, but it's helping me know now of a guide now that I've been there, obviously. Fan zone in here. You go up here. This is a gate. You exit the gate. You are fine. You can exit that gate. And then you're going to walk up. There's a bunch of trams. You can take those trams. But if you're like me and you're impatient, you then just keep walking. There's another little food court fan zone here. There's lots of alcohol, a bunch of food trucks. They have a big screen here. I don't think Daytona has enough screens, but it's fine because the commentators, their volume is so fucking loud. I had my loops in because cars on the grandstands and I could still hear them through the loops, no problem. I love a screen. There was also a big screen in the fan zone this morning. I stood there and I watched, the morning session for the most part. The whole thing. You know what I'm saying? A couple of hours I sat there and watched it there before heading back to the grandstand because that's where I just preferred to park it for the finish. If you don't want to do that, you just walk through the campsites. It's a long walk, but it's fun. And if you're like me, I love seeing people's camping setups, especially in spaces like this. That was one thing that I really enjoyed when I did the Indy 500, was seeing a bunch of different people's camping setups. Someone had a tree and they were decorating it with like beer cans, and they were like encouraging people to like come and put their own beer cans once they were finished with their beer on it. That's fun. It was also really interesting to see the amount of people that have gone to so many different tracks with IMSA or NASCAR or what have you, or IndyCar. And they like have it displayed on their RVs, a bunch of custom builds. Interesting. A lot of them had an outdoor TV, and that's how they were watching the race from their campsite. Down in this back area for the trams as well, behind like that food court area that I said internally, they had a bunch of like the car brand setups, the racing team setups. So like Ford was here, Hyundai, Michelin tires had a setup with race service. Ford had like two stick simulators. They had the good simulator that like rocks you around, and then they had the simulator inside the truck. So you could be in the truck cab and do the simulator. That's sick. I didn't do any of that because I was watching cars on track, but quite a bit to do over here, I would say. Before the start, they got the cars all lined up on the pit lane. They did their driver introductions as I was walking over, and then they opened up the crossover gate. So if you would like to cross from one side to the other, if you don't want to do the big walk at the start, you can just do the crossover before they actually start the race itself. So that also, quite a few people ended up doing that. But that was cool because then you could go out on the start finish line. I went on the track, as I love to do. I love going on a track.
Might as well go on the grass. The crossover gate. This is fucking nuts. It's really cool. I'm really excited actually. Really is fucking nuts. Actually, this is really sick. I'm glad I did this. That was a nightmare, but I'm really glad I did that.
They also have the big Daytona logo on the grass and everything, so you can go hang out there and go see all the cars as everyone is walking out and getting into the starting positions. I wanted a good spot, so I cleared out a little earlier after I got my photos so I could watch. And then, yeah, we got the start going. And then turn one immediately, we had some contact. Immediately. It took quite a bit before they had to retire any of the cars, though, if I'm remembering correctly. Even though I could heard the commentary, it was not the easiest to track what was actually happening in the race while I was there, mainly because I was wearing sunglasses that aren't prescription. And so the spotter guides really aren't helpful when I just see a lot of red and yellow blurs. Apologies, I can't give you too many indications of the racing itself other than I was really excited when they zoomed past me. I will say a much more laid back vibe than I was necessarily expecting. I'm so used to like the hoorah America of it all when I go to American racing events that like this, maybe because it was general admission, this was apparently the largest attended Rolex 24 in the history of it. I think they're at 60 years of it at Daytona, I believe, if I'm remembering that stat correctly. And they said this was the most attended one ever, which I don't doubt. I have nothing to compare it to, obviously. The crowd seemed pretty big, but because it was so spread out and it was general admission, there was just not a ton of like intermingling, I guess. I don't know, at least here, like everyone seemed very excited. A lot of amateur motorsports photographers and videographers were on site. If you have credentials, a lot of the on-track, on-site like photo spots, you can just get on foot. So if this is a good race, if you're wanting to get into like motorsport photography, because there's quite a lot of viewing spots. It also is just cool because there's a lot of cool spots to view like around the track, like that second fan zone that I mentioned internally. There's a bunch of openings in the gates there, and there's another grandstand there, so a lot of people just stand there and watch through that whole section right there. I don't want to say that like fandom wasn't there, but it was just, I don't know, it was very chill. It surprised me a little bit. I'm not mad about it because I do like seeing a variety of fandoms exhibited at various events and race series and things like that. But it was just, I don't know, it was fairly chill. Within an hour, a lot of people around me in the stands cleared out. I committed to going to a like motorsport creators meetup that was happening in the fan zone in front of the Budweiser thing by the big Daytona sign. That was fun. Everyone was there. It was great. We just kind of hung out for a bit. That was around 4:30. I was there till it got about dark. And then everyone kind of went their own ways. I got a hot chocolate. Daytona has hot chocolate.
That's all I'm saying. Rolex 24, Daytona is winning so far for me with night races just because I was able to get a hot chocolate. F1, I need you to step it up. That's all I'm saying.
Also, weird. Why don't you guys do napkins at Daytona? I get card only. I understand. Napkins? We've got like chili cheese fries and pizza. Bring your own napkins, I guess, if you're going to Daytona. That was weird. I thought that was really weird. I could not find where I could buy an energy drink. This morning, I just got some from 7-Eleven and then brought those in with me because you can bring in your own food and drinks. They don't mind. They just have to check stuff, I think. A lot of these teams have energy drink sponsors. I don't know. I just feel like this is a missed opportunity. I was also surprised by the amount of food stands. There was like maybe a couple that did like breakfast style foods for the morning. A lot of them didn't. I'm not opposed to having a pretzel for breakfast because I did, but like I'm glad I was able to get a breakfast sandwich when I got a breakfast sandwich, you know what I'm saying? And that was like one of the coffee spots that just happened to start doing sausage, egg, breakfast sandwiches. I don't know, it feels like a missed opportunity when like there are people that were camping here or were staying the whole night or just got here and they don't want to miss anything so they're not leaving track. I don't know, it just feels like a missed opportunity. I originally planned to make it to 3 a.m. before I was like, I probably have to cave at 3 a.m. I am weird. I'm sleepy during the day and then wide-eyed at night, which is annoying because like clockwork, I wake up at 6:30 a.m. every day, either from the fact that I used to work as a barista or the fact that my dog demands attention at the crack of dawn. So I was fine by the time I left. The fog was getting thick. There was talk of them red flagging the race. I was told because if the medical helicopter can't fly, they have to red flag the race. They ended up not. It ended up going, I left just before midnight, I think is when I left after fireworks. Fireworks seemed low. I think they called the full course yellow for it, because I think there were debris from the fog. I think the fog made it so that the fireworks going to go as high up as they normally do. I don't know, just based off of my experience with fireworks, this seemed wildly low. And it was hard to see them, obviously, because of the fog. I think they cut it short. And then there was a full course yellow because of the debris, and they were like cleaning the track. Full course yellow is basically a safety car. The whole field slows down. Even all the classes slow down. There's several classes racing at one time, which is always interesting to me because I always like seeing like the variety. Is it hard to keep track of things? Yes. Am I trying to keep track of everything? No. And I don't know. I think they do a pretty good job of separating them. This is very helpful. Maybe I'll insert photos. So there's GTP, which is Grand Touring Prototype, LMP2, which is Le Mans Prototype 2, GTD Pro, which is GT Daytona Pro, and then GTD, GT Daytona. And they just went through all of them here. Leaving was no problem. I just walked across the street, got a can of Chef Boyardee from 7-Eleven and waited for my Lyft ride. A lot of people just left right after the fireworks. Fireworks started at 11 p.m. I made it a little longer because that was my plan at least. And then my plan was to come back, sleep for a couple of hours, Hopefully my lung got better. If it didn't, I was just gonna finish watching the race here and not leave, but I was fine when I woke up. I woke up at 5 and my plan was to be there at 6, and then I saw that there was still a full course yellow. I thought I was missing good racing while I was sleeping. No, I missed the full course yellow. It was apparently, like I said, the longest full course yellow in the history of the Rolex 24. Some drivers did their entire night stint with it. So I let myself sleep a little bit longer, and then I made it to the track around 8. They went green before then. So it was already green when I got back. I was just watching it. It was on Peacock. They were streaming it on YouTube outside of the US. Because of course they were. I did see a lot of complaints about the broadcast online. I was asleep for most of it. But I frankly hate Peacock's streaming setup. Too many commercials. I really get frustrated watching live sports on television. That's why I prefer to go to sports games or series or races, whatever. I prefer to just be there and experience it than watching a broadcast. But alas, I have motorsport brain rot, so I'm committed. I just got dropped off at the same 7-Eleven, so I was directly across from the main grandstand. I entered on that side. I went to my spot, parked it there for a bit, watched a bit more of the morning sessions, and then I was able to take the tram. The tram did not have a long line that time, so I did take it to go back to the fan zone, hung out there, got some more food, checked the merch stand. I was going to cave and buy the Rolex 24 green racing jacket because they were my colors and it looked sick as hell. However, they were out of the sizes that I had allowed myself to buy, which would have been a medium or a small. They were out of those. So therefore, I saved money. Follow for more personal finance tips. But I did get a hat and my normal magnet and a program because I collect programs and I frankly just needed a hat. This is where I watched the big screen. They had the stage mostly collapsed at this point. Once I left the fan zone, I never came back to this fan zone. So I don't know if they ever popped that stage back up, but it did get windy. And I do know that before I left, they said that there was going to be karaoke till 11:30 in that fan zone. So I never went and saw karaoke. I never participated. I did hear them from time to time though, all the way from the grandstand. So some of y'all were belting. I'm impressed. There were some car retirements, obviously, and there were some car retirements towards the end of the race. Not a ton, frankly. Not with some of the race series that I've been watching lately, where I feel like there's like 4 or 5 cars that have to be retired. It's crazy. Then after a little while, I made my way back over to the main grandstand. I wanted to see how people were handling the morning. Most people were packing up, which I did think was interesting. I don't know what the booking for the RVs looks like. If it is like you have till this time frame to be out, which is why some people were doing teardowns. A lot of people were leaving before the end of the race, which I did think was odd. I don't know what the time frame of that would have been though. Yeah, then I just parked it at the main grandstand and made sure I had a good spot of the finish line for the end of the race. I think basically everyone I was rooting for did not do well. So the number 70 Penske Porsche won overall. That's a 3-peat for them, which makes it a 3-peat. It's also Penske's 60th anniversary, I believe. Like this year. So cool way to start their year. Number 57, Windward Racing Mercedes got to win in GTD where there was a lot of contact and nearly a wreck. Philip Ellis brought the car home and is joined in victory by co-drivers Russell Ward, Indy Donche, and Lucas Auer. God, 705 laps is crazy for the GTP. That's crazy. I admit I was just rooting for cars that had people that I've watched in other series in them. None of whom won, so not a good result for if Amanda's rooting for you today, I guess. I'm not totally a curse, although I will say anytime that someone has me as a guest of theirs so far, they either win or get a podium. I'm just saying, that's across all series. Every time I've been a guest of the Chargers, they win. That's all I'm saying. I hung out and stayed for a while as I normally do at the end of a race. I just stayed in the grandstand, watched the trophy ceremonies, and the giving the Rolex, which is very fun. I will say it is very funny to see how it's almost corporate. Okay, now manufacturer hats. Let's take those Michelin hat, the Rolex hats off. Let's do the BMW hat. It's funny. Versus like, yeah, let's just do that later. It's almost very wedding photo, I guess. Where it's like, okay, now just the bride and groom. Okay, now the bride with the bridesmaids. Groomsmen, come on in with the bride. Yeah, it almost feels like that. It's kind of funny. I didn't get to really experience that with the Long Beach Grand Prix because I just kind of parked it for the other series that were racing. So I didn't get to see their podium, which is very funny. And I don't think, do I ever watch your guys' podiums when I watch a race with y'all? I feel like it's different on the broadcast. You can't see a whole lot from the grandstand, and obviously there's one screen way over here. I could barely see it from where I was. I could hear them, but that was kind of it. I do like the Michelin Man though, being on the stage. It's very fun. He was funny. I saw him around a couple of times. But yeah, overall, I had a good time, and I'm very easy to please. I like cars on track. And it's kind of funny because someone said, I think it was Nicole who makes motorsport content on TikTok, she was like, to go to any race means you have to suffer a little bit. And she did like a whole breakdown of like all the different racetracks and like how you will be suffering a little bit to enjoy the sport a little bit. And I think I don't want to say that this is nature. Like I've been comfortable at races. I've also just been uncomfortable at races. This one was good. I wasn't too cold at night. It did get a little breezy and cold, and then it was just damp, which I'm obviously just not 100%, which is why I left as early as I did. I probably would have stuck it out way longer. I had a sweater with me. I had a jacket. I was fine. I was warm. I was just like coughing too much. So I was like, I have to leave. As far as the heat goes, I mean, it's just the sun. It's just Florida. Like this is nothing sunburn wise. I'm pink. That's it. Do you guys want to see the photos of when I got burnt in Long Beach? I'm from Orange County. There's no reason for me to get that. I'm born and raised in California. There's no reason I should be sunburning like this. It's just, it is what it is. It's not a big deal. I don't know. It's just overall, I would do this differently. I like having a vehicle. I liked having a vehicle when I did the Indy 500. I like having a vehicle when I did, Long Beach, frankly. I just like having an option. When I'm in Florida for the Miami Grand Prix for Formula One, I like having a car. I like being able to stash water so that once I hike back to my car, I can chug water and I'm not carrying it around with me. I like having a change of clothes in the car or something like that. So that's just on me for not doing a rental car this year. I was just like, I don't need it. It's 20 minutes away. What's a Lyft ride? It is what it is. It's my own fault. I don't know. Next time maybe I'll camp. Next time I do another big race like this in the US, I'll take advantage of the camping culture and I'll see how that is from that side of things, which I think would be fun. I will say, being there, I feel like I missed out on some of the fun shenanigans that I enjoyed watching last year when I watched the Rolex 24, which you just see on the broadcast or on social media of just seeing the team shenanigans of either trying to stay awake. Apparently at one point a team started reading Cat in a Hat over the intercom for the whole team during the full course yellow. You just kind of miss fun things when you're on site like that, at least for a race like this. So that is a bit of a bummer, but that's also a screen thing, because I'm sure they showed it on the screen. I just physically could not see it. You know what I'm saying? And there was plenty of screens inside. I should make that note, for the big grandstand in like indoors where they have the food and the bathrooms and all of that. There were a ton of screens in there. So if I really wanted to go and sit and watch the screens and still hear the roar of the engines, side note, bring or buy ear protection. Every time I talk about ear protection at a race, I get troglodytes, and I'm calling you a troglodyte in the comment sections, okay, being like, I want to be able to hear these cars. Okay, well, if you keep doing that over time, you're not going to be able to hear anything. If there's signs posted that say employees must wear ear protection past this point, you also should have ear protection. I used my loops. They were fine. I could still hear the cars. I could still hear the broadcasters. When I talk, did I sound weird? Yes. Are my ears ringing? No. It's fine. I will say they do hurt after a bit of time, but that's because my ears are annoying, probably. Probably have small ears. But they sell the radios. They made it very easy to find the frequency as well for the radios themselves. You can do it through the app if you just wanted to have earplugs or something in. Please protect your hearing. Anyways, that's going to be it. Have you ever been to the Rolex 24? Are you mad I missed last year? Are you bummed that I came during a fog race? But I feel like Le Mans also had fog last year. I really want to go to Le Mans. I knew I needed to do this at least one time before I do Le Mans, because I really want to do Le Mans. I would be prepared to sleep under a tree. I was fully prepared also to sleep in the grandstands. I'm not above that. I can sleep anywhere. I dozed off a couple of times, but I was coughing too much and I was like, I probably should get indoors. That'd probably be better for my health to make sure I don't develop pneumonia or something. And I feel much better today. I'm fine, probably. A reminder, I stream on Twitch. My Swell Entertainment is now available on Spotify. Why don't check out Girly Pop Go if you'd like to see more car and motorsport content. I'll probably edit together some of the garage footage of me walking up and down in that space for this, but overall, big review. Rolex 24, Swell Entertainment. Shout out to my channel members. Thank you so much for putting me on channel memberships. Also, for me on channel memberships, join up, blah, blah, blah. If you'd like to follow me on social media, they'll be all up here. And that's going to be a hell of a day. Goodbye. I might go back and watch the full race. I don't know. But if anyone makes a compilation of all the funniest team shenanigans on YouTube, I will be watching because I do feel like I missed out.